First, they came from Derek Shelton, and I did not say anything. Then they came from Bob Black, and still I said nothing. But once they come from John Schneider, Blue Jays fans will finally break because they love that man more than anything. Welcome to the Dugout. I'm your host, Joseph Silva, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about the two manager firings that happened this week. We have so many great series to watch, and most importantly, the two of the hottest teams in baseball are squaring off this weekend, and I got to tell you all about it. But before we get started, if you're enjoying the content, go ahead and leave a like. Subscribe to the Run the Play Network. Unfortunately, Jason Tatum looks to be out for the rest of the playoffs, but it doesn't mean the NBA playoffs are any less legendary. Let the boys that you know ball recap it for you. Best show on the internet for this. But we begin with some of the best series in baseball, and this was a sleeper from last week as one of the best. Braves and Reds. Every game seemingly was close and dramatic late. And it all started with game one, a 2-1 squeaker for the Braves over the Reds. Absolutely fantastic pitching. And it started with Andrew Abbott, who went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, no earned, no walks, 8 strikeouts. He looks really good this year, one of the more underrated pitchers in the league. Meanwhile, he was outdueled by Chris Sale, who went blow for blow with him, and is finally looking to turn that corner back to the Cy Young Chris Sale, who was last year. He struggled to start the year, but didn't struggle here. He went 6 2/3, gave up 5 hits, no earned, 2 walks, 10 strikeouts, and a dominant performance. And of course, all the offense that came late. Santiago Espinal had a clutch single for the Reds in the 8th, but unfortunately, Michael Harris II tied it with a double in the 9th, sending us to extras. And unfortunately, I do have to say his name. I don't like him, but I respect what he did here. Marcell Ozuna walked it off with a single in the 10th to give the Braves the win. And after that, it was another close one, but this time the Reds won the squeaker. They won it 4-3 with Hunter Green going 3 innings, 2 hits, no earned, no walks, 6 strikeouts. He's been absolutely phenomenal to start the year. Left on base, BABIP luck be damned from last year. He has lived up to the hype. But unfortunately for me, the number one Hunter Green fan in the world, and all us in Hunter Green Nation, he had to leave the start early with a groin strain. He has hit the eye out. Manager Terry Francona says his return does not look good. They don't have a timetable for it just yet. And it really, really sucks, man. Not just because, what Hunter Green is and who he's been pitching, but just what he represents. He's the first player to come through Compton's Inner City Baseball Academy. He was the light atop the hill because we hear it all the time that Black Americans are not playing in baseball. And I'm not going to make this political that much. But players like him and Mookie Betts were finally giving young black kids someone to look up to in baseball. And it just sucks to see, man. It really, really sucks. Hopefully he gets better soon because I love watching me some Hunter Green. Grant Holmes did not pitch well for the Braves in this one, unfortunately. He went 5 1/3, gave up 7 hits, 4 earned, a walk, 5 strikeouts. He was kind of that, sleeper pick to break out in this Braves rotation. Just has not lived up to that hype whatsoever. He's still a Dodger legend in my heart, though. In the score offensively, TJ Friedl led off this one with a solo shot in the first, followed by a Gavin Lux RBI double play, which you do not hear that much in the league. In the same inning, Friedl then added to the lead with his second solo shot in the third to make it 3-0. Tyler Stevenson would cap the scoring for the Reds with an RBI single in the 4th. But after that, the Braves started making their comeback. Drake Baldwin started the scoring with a solo home run in the 5th. Matt Olson and Ozzie Albies combined for 2 runs in the 6th, but the Braves just couldn't put it over the goal line. Lost an absolute nail-biter, but did show resolve in this one. And in the finale, another extra innings duel that would once again be won by the Braves. They won it 5-4. Nick Lodolo looked damn good in this one. He went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 earned, no walks, 6 strikeouts. He again has just been another underrated arm in this Reds rotation. Looked really good. He might have to be the one stepping up after, of course, Hunter Green's injury. But he was outpitched in this one by Spencer Schwellenbach, who went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, 1 run, no earned, 2 walks, 6 strikeouts. Just absolutely continues his torrid start to the year. Really, really good stuff from Schwellenbach, showing why he was the sexy dark horse candidate in the NL Cy Young race this year. And offensively, Matt Olson opened the scoring with a sac fly in the first, followed by a Jose Trevino game-tying RBI double in the fifth. Michael Harris II would immediately untie it with an RBI single, or an RBI triple, of his own in the bottom half of the fifth, followed by a TJ Friedl game-tying single in the seventh. And then in the ninth, this is where things got crazy. Rhys Hines had a 2-run bomb to give the Reds the lead. It looked like it was over for Atlanta, but then Eli White cut the lead in half with a sac bunt, followed by a Michael Harris RBI single to tie the game. After a rare scoreless 10th inning and extras with the ghost runner, Drake Baldwin would win it with a walk-off single in the 11th. And just looking at this series overall, it really is the fact that this Braves pitching staff is inconsistent. Is Chris Sale, is really good. Grant Holmes struggled, and Schwellenbach has been very good. But the offense is starting to turn a little bit of the quarter. You didn't really hear a lot about Austin Riley, but he's been really great to start the year. Olsen's starting to heat up a little bit. Drake Baldwin, he was kind of the sexy rookie of the year pick in the NL if you didn't want to go with Sasaki. I'm sorry that I went with Sasaki. But he's starting to live up to that a little bit here. And for the Reds, just a huge blow to morale, unfortunately, is with the Hunter Green injury. This rotation, although I like it more than most people do, is still not as formidable as it is with him in it. The offense looked fine. You didn't really get any contributions from Ellie in this series. And he really is the one that needs to be contributing for this Reds team to be successful. But ultimately, in a battle of two teams that really have struggled to start the year, really haven't lived up to expectations, the Braves counting me out on top, and they're looking to claw back from that awful start to the year. But before I tell you about what was actually the wildest series of the year, we got to hear a word from our sponsor.
Man, okay, LeBron hit my parlay. Let's get it.
Oh shit, he hit it?
Yeah, bro. Look at this.
I won $200. I tailed your parlay.
How the heck did you win $200?
I used Boom Fantasy. I used their pick and spin, spun the wheel, got 10 times my money.
Bro, you gotta hook me up.
If you use code RTP, you could get a risk-free bet up to $100. Let's get back to the video.
This is a series I'm a little conflicted on because on the one hand, I want to brag like I'm right. I told you so. You should have been high on the Athletics. I also have a lot of crow to eat because I picked the Mariners to finish 4th in the AL West, and they are a dominant ball club. So it balances out a little bit. Perfectly balanced as all things should be. And game 1 of the series immediately led off with some fireworks here. Emerson Hancock started this one for the Mariners. He went 6 innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Just really didn't have his strikeout stuff today, but still gritted his way through 6 innings regardless. Jeffrey Springs continues his disappointing tenure with the Athletics. He was supposed to be the ace of the staff. He's not really pitching like the ace of the staff. He's barely pitching like a 4-starter. He went 5 innings, gave up 4 hits, 2 earned, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Just a good start from him, but just not the elite Jeffrey Springs we saw in Tampa Bay. Offensively, Julio Rodriguez opened it up with a solo shot in the first, and Miguel Andujar immediately tied it with an RBI single in the bottom half of the inning. And then Miles Mastroboni answers with an RBI double in the second, making it 3 straight half innings with a run scored. Brent Rooker would tie it with an RBI single in the third to make it 2-2. And Duhar immediately gives the A's the lead with an RBI single in the 8th, and it's looking good for the Athletics. But there was one problem. Actually, 2 of them. 3, because, Big Dumper has a big dumper. And of course, that is Cal Raleigh, who gave Seattle the lead with a 2-run single in the 9th. Dylan Moore would then add an insurance run with a sac fly in that inning. And the other problem was it was not Miller time in the 9th inning because it was Tyler Ferguson who was pitching the 9th. I know Miller pitched a couple days before. He needed some rest, but it's just hard to see. If he's not pitching that 9th, it looks brutal for the Athletics, who would lose this one 5-3. In game 2, the Athletics struck back hard and it really got to Bryce Miller here, who had arguably his worst start of the year. He went 4 innings, gave up 7 hits, 4 earned, no walks, a singular strikeout, just didn't have it. Meanwhile, Luis Severino, again, is supposed to carry that rotation with Jeffrey Springs. Been disappointing this year. He went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, 4 earned, 4 walks, 5 strikeouts. Really struggled with his command in this one, but still gritted his way through 6 innings, which is exactly what the Athletics needed in this one. Offensively, Miguel Andujar once again opens the scoring for this Athletics team with a sac fly in the first. Jacob Wilson then adds an RBI single in the second to make it 2-0. But the third inning, the Mariners came out with a vengeance. A Jorge Polanco RBI single followed by an RBI double from Tellez, a Miles Mastrobuoni RBI single, and finally a Ben Williamson RBI single makes it 4-2 in a blink. And yeah, this Mariners offense, you didn't think it going into the year, but they've been relentless. But Shea Bangaliers himself and a Lawrence Butler RBI single made it immediately 4-4 in the fourth inning. And from there, Ben Williamson would tie it again with an RBI single in the seventh. Miles Mastrobuoni gives the M's the lead with a single in the eighth. Bangalore's gives a sac fly to give the A's the lead in the seventh, followed by a Williamson RBI single to tie it in the eighth. And Mastrobuoni then has a sac fly to give the M's the lead in the 10th. But Jacob Wilson is an extra innings god. I don't like that he's swinging at everything. I love people who walk, but man, he might have the best contact tool in all of baseball here. Because he had an RBI single in the 10th and then walked it off with an RBI single again in the 11th. I don't know how sustainable it is, but God, do I love watching me some Jacob Wilson. And in the rubber match, the M's again squeaked out another close win. We've talked about 6 games thus far on the show. Only one of them was decided by more than one run, as this one was 6-5 as well. Brian Wu just again was tagged by this Athletics staff or hitting core. He went 6 innings, gave up 8 hits, 5 earned, a walk, 6 strikeouts. And the fantastically named Gunnar Hoglund gave the best start for the Athletics. He went 5 1/3, gave up 5 hits, 2 earned, a walk, 3 strikeouts. And say it with me, folks, Miguel Andujar opens the scoring for the Athletics with an RBI single in the first. He would then come around to score on a J.J. Bleday RBI double. Lawrence Butler added to the lead with an absolute bomb. And a Jacob Wilson single, RBI single, would give the A's a 4-0 lead in the fourth. Ben Williamson then had an RBI double to open the Mariners scoring in the fifth, followed by a Rowdy Tellez absolute 3-run shot to cut the lead to 1. And then Leody Taveras ties it with an RBI single, and Dylan Moore wins it with an RBI double in the 8th. And overall, these two teams have such good offenses, man. They're so much fun to watch. I didn't expect that from the Mariners whatsoever. Like, yeah, J-Rod's been slow to start the year. Cal Raleigh, I am so sorry I left you off the top 50 list. I will be a respecter of the big dumper. He is fantastic to start the year. Jorge Polanco, of all people, has gone off this year. What the hell is going on in Seattle? They finally have complemented this great pitching staff. Granted, a short-handed pitching staff with the Logan Gilbert injury, but they're so much fun to watch. I want Seattle to be good desperately. They deserve it. And for the Athletics, this is what everybody was worried about, is they just don't have the pitching whatsoever. Is Springs and Severino were supposed to, be the two guys. They gave up 2 runs in 5 innings, 4 runs in 6 innings. They just have not been those guys they were expected to be by the Athletics. Offensively, they all look so good, man. Shea Langoliers, awesome. Soderstrom is slowed down, but he had a fantastic start to the year. Jacob Wilson is your dad's favorite baseball player, the way he forgoes power and just has an elite contact tool. They just got to find some pitching, and they would be on top of the league here. And this, again, why I highlighted the series for the Athletics, is they have a tough stretch coming up. They had to go to the Yankees, and they handled business somewhat well. And then, of course, they play my beloved Dodgers starting today, going to Thursday. Just a brutal stretch for them. Let's see what they're made of here. We'll talk about them again next week for sure. And in the finale, we had last week's series to watch, which ended up being the most disappointing one, just because there were not that many close games. But we did learn a lot about these two teams here. I'm, of course, talking about the first place Mets versus the first place Cubs. And in game 1, the Mets looked every bit the better team in this one, as Jameson Taillon just absolutely struggled here. He went 4 innings, gave up 9 hits, 6 runs, 5 of them earned, a walk, 4 strikeouts. He was outdueled. I shouldn't even say outdueled. They were playing different sports here. Quite frankly, the way Holmes pitched in this one, as Holmes went 6 innings, gave up 3 hits, an earned run, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Just absolutely masterful from Holmes, who has ironically enough been the ace of the best rotation in baseball, despite being a much maligned Yankees closer from last year. Francisco Lindor opened the scoring with a leadoff home run in the first, followed by Brett Beatty and Jeff McNeil adding a pair of solo shots in the second to make it 3-0. Ronald's brother Luis Angel Acuna grounded into a fielder's choice to drive in a run, followed by a throwing error from Swanson to score Francisco Alvarez, making it 5-0. Kyle Tucker tried to bring one back in the fourth with a solo home run, but Juan Soto immediately said, no, not today. He had an absolute piss missile in the bottom half of the fourth to get that one immediately back, and then added an RBI single in the eighth, just to show that I'm overpaid, but I'm not that overpaid. And of course, Dodgers legend Michael Busch with a Chris Paul-esque solo shot in the ninth to make it 7-2, which is where the score would stand. But the Cubs, they would not go quietly into that good night. They won Game 2 6-5 in a bullpen game where Cade Horton ate majority of the innings. He went 4, gave up 3 earned, no walks, 5 strikeouts. About as good as you can expect from Cade Horton overall. And Tyler McGill for the Mets, meanwhile, just didn't have it. He went 4 2/3, 7 hits, 4 earned, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. But then again, who has it pitching to this deadly Cubs offense here? Speaking of the Cubs offense, Seiya Suzuki would open the scoring with an RBI single in the first, followed by a Lieutenant Dan Dansby Swanson RBI single to make it 2-0. Michael Busch then added an RBI single of his own in the third to really stretch the lead for Chicago. Then Lieutenant Dan again with another solo shot to make it 4-0, which would prove to be huge because Brett Beatty immediately made it interesting with a 3-run tank of his own in the bottom half of the inning. And then Amaya had a big 2-run double in the eighth because, again, they needed a little bit of breathing room here. The Citi Field crowd was all over him. And it proved to be necessary because immediately after that, Brett Beatty with a 2-run shot of his own to bring the lead back to 1, but they could not claw their way out of this one. Cubs won at 6-5. And in the rubber match, Matthew Boyd did all he could for the Cubs, but it wasn't enough. He went 6 innings, gave up 6 hits, 2 earned, no walks, 8 strikeouts. He is absolutely dominant here. Great start to the year for him, and he is really the one tiny little thread that is holding this delicate scarf that is a Cubs rotation together. Without him, it is gonna unravel massively. Griffin Canning, however, huge surprise for him. He's started to locate that fastball, as all Angels fans have been yelling at him to do his entire career. He's finally doing it in the Mets, and he went blow for blow, pitch for pitch with Matthew Boyd in this one. He went 6 innings, gave up 2 hits, an earned run, a walk, 5 strikeouts. Again, I don't know how Peterson does it, but he finds so many good pitchers. It is great to watch if you're a Mets fan. Offensively, Luis Torres opened the scoring with an RBI triple in the second, but the man, the myth, the legend, the man who makes blue hair cool again, Pete Crow Armstrong, tied it with a solo home run in the sixth, but it just unraveled very quickly for the Mets, for the Cubs, but not just yet, as Mark Vientos would untie it with a solo home run in the bottom half of the inning, and the eternally underrated Nico Horner ties it again with an RBI double right after. But the 8th inning was just a disaster. Porter Hodge came in and immediately surrendered the lead as Francisco Lindor led it off with a solo home run. Vientos had an RBI single who would come around to score on the Brandon Nimmo dagger home run to put this one out of reach. And looking at this one, it's as much as I hyped up this series, it's kind of what was to be expected with the fact that, Justin Steele, Shota Imanaga, and Javier Assad are all on the IL. Steele is out for the year. We don't know when Shota is coming back, and we don't know when Assad is making his season debut. And this Cubs offense, really, I hyped it up as unstoppable force meets immovable object. Yeah, it really wasn't that. They just ran into a buzzsaw. That was this Mets pitching staff, is they all looked so good. And that's not without their best pitcher, Kodai Senga, missing a lot of time this year. They're all great pitchers. They're supported by a good, not great offense. And really, this Mets team, they are, I don't want to say the second best team in the NL because, again, post-election year NL West is a thing. And the best, second best, and third best record in baseball are all in my fucking division. It makes me so mad, but I'm not talking about that right now. We're talking about the Mets, who just continue to surprise everybody. They are such a well-run organization now. They find lesser talents. They support their two superstars at the top of the lineup, have just great player development. They're just a great team overall. It's a dangerous team. And I've slept on them, but I'm going to start talking about the Mets a little bit more. They're a great team for sure. But now, we have to talk about the opposite of the Mets. Two poorly run organizations here who just cannot get out of their own way here. I'm of course talking about the Pirates and the woefully, historically, how the fuck are you guys worse than the White Sox, Colorado Rockies? But we start with the Pirates first here. As manager Derek Shelton was fired last week after a horrible, horrible start for the Buccos. The team currently is 14-7, 2-8 in their last 10. And surprise, surprise, they are dead last. Dead last in runs scored here. It has just not been great for them. And then, as much as I hopped at this pitching staff, Paul Skeens, fantastic. Don't get me wrong here. But I will talk about him in a little bit here. But Skeens, Jones, Keller, Bubba Chandler on the way. This should be a really good pitching staff here. But they are bottom 10 in the league in the ERA, which is infuriating here. They are just such a poorly run organization. And really, was Shelton perfect? No, I don't think so. But if you're firing Shelton, why the hell aren't you firing Ben Cherington? He screwed up the Henry Davis pick massively. They don't have a competent offense. Maybe Bob Nutting needs to spend more money here because Skeens is gonna leave at this rate. It is awful because he is being Jacob deGrommed in real time, and it is frustrating to watch here. There are a lot of pitchers with like sub 3 RRAs in the sport right now. Only one of them has a losing record. As you can probably guess, it is Paul fucking Skeens. This town loves him. We saw the Shohei Ohtani. I don't even say Shohei Ohtani-esque lines because I was in those lines. They didn't stretch a half mile across the fucking Allegheny here. They love Skeens. They want the Pirates to be so good. Just spend some money here. Do something. Derek Shelton is a symptom, not the illness here. God, just spend money, Pittsburgh. You have a golden chance to compete here. Your manager's not the problem. Your management is the problem. But Bud Black, he got the hell out of there at the right time, man. My God, is this Rockies team historically awful, which is a little bit weird, but to be expected. Is when I was going through the projections, all their hitters were projected for WRC plus below 100 because, Coors. But looking at it more, the Rockies have always had stars, whether, it's Todd Helton, Tulo, Cargo, Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story. They just don't have that anymore. I'm a big fan of Brenton Doyle, and I like Ezekiel Tovar perfectly fine. But Trevor Story and Todd Helton, they are not. And really, what the hell is he supposed to do here? There's not, good pitching development. It's Coors Field. There's never going to be a good pitching season in Coors Field. But offensively, it's just rough to see. And I get it, Bud Black's more of a pitcher's manager than a hitter's manager. But I don't think firing him and the bench coach is really going to do something. Again, you had to do something here, but yeah, again, it's back on management here, just doing everything incredibly wrong, shipping off Nolan Arenado, bringing in a very injury-prone Chris Bryant, who is basically the one character from SpongeBob, because every morning he breaks his bones, and every evening he breaks his legs. It's just awful. These are just two incredibly poorly ran teams with managers who are being scapegoated. I don't expect much to turn around from either of these teams, quite frankly, here. But who knows? And of course, it cannot be a discussion in the past week of baseball without talking about Rafael Devers, because, Bob Nightingale subtweeted him yesterday. It was wonderful to see, but my God, Rafael Devers, what the hell is wrong with you? First of all, he refused to move off third base for Alex Bregman, who is, I don't want to say a vastly better defender. That's underselling it. That's like comparing my basketball ability to LeBron's basketball ability. Clearly, one is better, and one should be playing in the NBA. And that's exactly what's going on here. Devers is such a negative at third base, but took so much poking and prodding to get him off the position for a really good defender there. So what the hell was wrong with him in the first place? Now, with Tristan Costas shredding his knee, not going to be back for the rest of the year, you ask him to play first base. And no, I can't do that. I'm too delicate. I won't. I refuse. Dude, just play fucking first base, man. We all know that Masataka Yoshida is not injured. We all know it's a Phantom IL stint. It'd be very nice to move him into this lineup with how much money he's being paid. And I get, like you would rather Roman Anthony play the outfield, but I don't know, give him some DH opportunities, switch him in and out with Rafaela, Abreu, just everybody in that outfield. But no, I'm too good. I refuse to play first base. Just man up already, dude. You're having a great start to the year, like 280, 7 home runs, 35 RBIs. Fantastic start. 149 OPS plus. You recovered beautifully from that horrible first 2 weeks. But, they're paying you to be the leader of the team. Act like the leader of the team. I don't buy into the speculation. Oh, are they going to trade Rafael Devers? No, that's stupid. Let's move on from that. Okay, he's the best hitter in this lineup. You need to keep him in a very beleaguered Red Sox lineup here. But you need to have a serious attitude adjustment with him. Because Bryce Harper moved from right field to first base. Mookie Betts moved from right field to shortstop. They did it. They're great at their positions. They're team players here. And of course, the aforementioned Bob Nightingale subtweet when he's announcing the players of the week, which ironically enough, Rafael Devers was the player of the week last week. But when he was talking about my beloved, my Pookie, my Freddie Freeman, he was talking about how Freddie moved from first to third in Atlanta, I want to say in like 2017, 2018, because Matt Adams tore it up when Freddie was gone, and he really wanted to give Adams that chance. So he went and not only played a new position, but played a much more difficult position. And that's why, Freddie Freeman is a one-of-one outstanding guy that you want in your locker room. And Rafael Devers is, the empty calories man. He puts up great stats, but I don't think he's going to lead Boston to another championship if he continues to act like this. But I told you before that we have a series between two of the hottest teams in baseball, and I did mean it. It's the Royals and the Cardinals. Yes, it's the Missouri Bowl, and it's going to be good, damn it. Because the Royals are on fire. I think they've lost 2 or 3 in the past 2 weeks. Stunning stuff from them. The Cardinals have won 9 straight. They just beat the Phillies in remarkable fashion. Mason Wood, who can't hit lefties, had a huge hit off a lefty. It's wonderful to see. Pitching matchups, though, I'm going to call it the battle of mid in Game 1 because Andrew Palente and Cole Reagans have really been mid to start the year. Palente is 3-2 with a 4.36 ERA, good for a 96 ERA plus, 1.39 WHIP, 28 strikeouts per 9, good 28 strikeouts, good for 5.8 strikeouts per 9. Ouch. Meanwhile, Cole Reagans, his ERA is awful. He's 2-2 with a 4.20 nice ERA for a 97 ERA plus, 1.23 WHIP, 65 strikeouts, good for a league-leading 14.4 strikeouts per 9. Dude, you gotta keep the ball in the yard, which is weird to say in Kaufman of all placements, but I relent. Miles Michaelis, Farmers legend, small-town hero himself. He's 2-2 with a 4.35 ERA, good for a 97 ERA plus, 23 strikeouts, 5.3 strikeouts per 9. He does it for the little guy, damn it. He faces Seth Lugo, who leads the league in innings pitched, but of all the pitchers I've talked about thus far, he's the one with the losing record, as he's 3-4 with a 3.02 ERA, good for a 1.35 ERA plus, 42 strikeouts, good for 6.7 strikeouts per 9. It's going to be an interesting Game 2 matchup to be sure, but I'm looking for Game 4 to Game 3s the most, as it's the resurgent Matthew Liberatore, who they gave up for Randy Arozarena. Kind of a wash at this point, but I digress. He's 3-3 with a 3.07 ERA, good for a 1.37 ERA plus, 38 strikeouts, good for 8.3 strikeouts per 9. He faces Cardinals legend Michael Wacha, who's 2-4 with a 2.98 ERA, good for 137 ERA plus, 34 strikeouts per 9, or 34 strikeouts, 6.8 strikeouts per 9. Pitching matchups, it's not anything to write home about here, but offensively, this is where these teams make their bread and butter. Gotta talk about Bobby Witt Jr. for the Royals here. He's their player to watch. 315 average, 5 home runs, 23 RBIs, 14 stolen bases, 386 on base, 512 slugging, 898 OPS, good for a 152 OPS plus. Is it weird to say this is a disappointing season for Witt? because it's kind of disappointing is the power numbers aren't what they were last year, but he's still, playing great defense, great speed, great contact. He is wonderful to watch. I love him so much. Meanwhile, for the Cardinals, I could talk about how good Nolan Gorman is, Brendan Donovan, Mason Wynn, but I'm going to talk about Japanese legend Lars Nootbaar himself, because he's been a little bit underrated to start the year. He's hitting 244 with 6 home runs, 22 RBIs, but a very impressive 369 on base, 417 slugging, good for a 786 OPS and a 121 OPS plus. He really, I don't want to say is the veteran leadership here on a team with Nolan Arenado, but he's sitting the table beautifully for the rest of this Cardinals hitters to drive him in. And quite frankly, you got to check it out when these two teams are still playing fantastic baseball, because one of them, Cardinals, is not for real. But it's interesting to see what happens when like two teams just on generational heaters come at each other in an interstate rivalry. Gonna be a lot of fun baseball to watch for sure. But let me know in the comments down below, what series are you looking forward to the most? Will the A's survive this gauntlet of a stretch they're on? And more importantly, who's the next manager to be fired? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the content, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the Run the Play Network, and don't forget on the way out, play ball.